all to the launch of the Women Entrepreneurs Finance Code in Pakistan. I thank each of you for joining us on this important occasion as we inaugurate a landmark initiative by the State Bank of Pakistan in partnership with Asian Development Bank. I would like to especially express my sincere gratitude to Ms. Christine Angstrom and her dedicated team at the Asian Development Bank for their steadfast support in making the signing of the V Finance Code possible. I also like to extend my appreciation to the World Bank for leading this important global initiative. Ladies and gentlemen, economic growth holds little meaning unless it is both sustainable and inclusive. To achieve this, we must ensure macroeconomic stability while expanding economic opportunities for all segments of the society. This will require and will ensure broad-based prosperity on which our future generations can thrive. As many of you know, the past few years have posed formidable challenges for our economy, businesses and households. Both the SBP and the Government of Pakistan implemented tough but necessary macroeconomic stabilization measures. As a result, thankfully, we are now out of the difficult period. Inflation has come down sharply, the current account has turned into a surplus, and SBP FX reserves are rising. The exchange rate is relatively stable and economic growth is also picking up gradually. Most importantly, the economic outlook at present is far more promising than a couple of years ago. We have found ourselves at this juncture many times in the past. However, the period of stabilization has often been followed by a boom-bust cycle. To avoid repeating these patterns, it is crucial not to repeat past mistakes, such as accelerating demand and economic growth too rapidly, especially in inward-looking sectors. Instead, we must use this opportunity to undertake structural reforms and lay the foundation for sustainable and inclusive economic growth. This is precisely the guiding principle of current macroeconomic policy making in Pakistan. Both SBP and the government remain steadfast in their approach to transitioning from recently hard-earned economic stability to a medium-term economic transformation. This resolve is reflected in our prudent and cautious monetary policy stance, fundamentals aligned exchange rate, and ongoing fiscal consolidation and improving debt dynamics. This approach is helping us ensure overall macroeconomic stability, building fiscal and external buffers, and supporting sustainable economic growth. With the focus now increasingly shifting towards structural reforms, we strongly believe that this time is indeed different for Pakistan's economy. Let me briefly share some reasons behind our confidence. First, average headline inflation has declined to 4.5% in fiscal year 2025, the lowest level in the last 9 years. We are increasingly confident that with prudent and coordinated mix of monetary and fiscal policies, inflation will stabilize within its target range of 5 to 7%. Second, the FX market remains stable, driven by external account outperformance and a high-quality build-up of FX reserves buffers. The current account balance is projected to remain supportive, driven by robust remittances and resilient exports. Despite rapid growth in both the value and volume of imports in line with the ongoing economic recovery. Third, SBP's FX reserves are now almost 5 times higher than the lower levels at the start of the calendar year 2023. This reserve build-up is driven by our FX purchases rather than external debt raised by the government, as was the case between 2015 and 2022. We are publishing our intervention data to ensure transparency. Fourth, fiscal policy has proactively supported monetary tightening as reflected in the second consecutive primary surplus in fiscal year 2025. Both tax and non-tax revenues have shown sizable growth, while overall expenditures have remained relatively contained. GOP is targeting a higher primary surplus for the fiscal year 2026. Fifth, economic growth is showing signs of gradual, consistent, and sustainable recovery. Unlike in the previous episodes of boom-bust cycles, the current policy mix remains conducive to a lasting increase in economic activity rather than a short-sighted, fragile, and populist sugar rush. Lastly, but most importantly, the focus is now shifting towards reforms that address structural issues. Efforts to widen of tax base, privatize SOEs, and liberalize trade will bring greater efficiency, enhance the role of private sector, and improve competition. Ladies and gentlemen, today's event and the initiative represent another strategic step towards fostering inclusive and sustainable economic growth by prioritizing women's economic participation at the heart of our national development agenda. The case for gender equality is both moral and economic. No country can thrive when half of the population is underdeveloped, is underemployed, and underserved. In Pakistan, women's labor force participation is just 22%, and with only 164,000 women entrepreneurs. Gender gaps in education, mobility, skills, and access to financial services continue to hinder women's full economic participation. It is also one of the major causes of low savings as well as low investment in Pakistan compared to many regional peers. Pakistan is now making progress. SBP's Banking on Equality policy, launched in 2021, has already laid the foundation, leading to a significant stride in improving women economic participation during the last few years. Moreover, our 5-year strategic plan, which called Vision 2028, prioritizes financial inclusion, gender diversity, and digitalization to improve access to finance and support women's empowerment in line with government efforts. Guided by this vision, we are working to introduce the Banking on Equality to an ambitious, systematic, and determined effort to dismantle barriers women facing in the financial system. Recently announced Prime Minister's Women Empowerment Package aimed at promoting gender equality and empowering women in Pakistan. At today's launch, SBP's endorsement of the WE Finance Code indicates our commitment to addressing gender inequality through collective actions. As code champion, SBP will collaborate with financial institutions, regulators, government agencies, private sector, and academia to build an inclusive ecosystem for women entrepreneurs. As I conclude, I would like to thank the banks that have joined the code and declared their commitment to build a future where every aspiring woman and entrepreneur has the opportunity to succeed. I would like to urge other stakeholders to also come forward and become part of this global movement. Lastly, I once again acknowledge Asian Development Bank team for their support in building an inclusive financial ecosystem in Pakistan. Thank you for your attention.